Good afternoon and welcome. You're listening live to Heart-to-Heart, a program that aims to help you understand and to become your loving self. I'm Dr. Mitra Rashidian. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified sexologist in full-time private practice located in Encino, California. And I'm here today along with my best friend, my dear colleague, and my amazing business partner, Dr. Robert Jaffe.
Hi, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Very kind.
I'm honored.
Thank you. So I'm Dr. Robert Jaffe. I'm also a licensed marriage and family therapist, certified hypnotherapist, and I'm here with Dr. Rashidian, who is also best friend, business partner, and lifelong colleague. We're here to share with you some of what we've learned over many years of study and practice, the goal of which is to feel more loving and more joyful every day of our lives. We do believe here that we are, most of us, I'm not going to say everybody, but most of us are born into the world as our authentic, true, loving selves. We come in with many good qualities. A few of which are we come in very open to new things, open to new ideas, open to new experiences. We all come in curious. We're curious about the world, curious about other people, and then we start becoming curious about ourselves, hopefully. We come in sexual. We all have sexual feelings. We all are sexual beings. Not to the same degree, but it's there. The desire to be close and to connect and to have loving relationships is inborn. And we come in trusting the universe to take care of us. We also come in honest, actually. We come in honest. We don't know how to lie when we come in. We tell it like it is. We see it like it is. And then at some point, if we start learning that it's not safe to do that, then we learn how to lie and be dishonest. But we do come in trusting, and honest. So those are the few of the qualities. Today we're going to be talking about relationships. We're going to be talking about sexuality. And we're here with our wonderful expert, Dr. Rashidian. So what have you got for us today?
Well, thank you. Before everything, I'd like to also welcome our listeners and offer our phone number. Just invite you to please call us with your comments and your questions. It's important for us to know what would you like for you to know about so that we can provide that to you. Our phone number is 951-922-3532. You may also, email us if you have any question that you wish to keep it private.
Absolutely.
Right. So the topic is related to human sexuality. And, that most of what you and I present here are basically research-based, right? Which, I believe that that's the best way to present information that they are scientifically have been, investigated, that they have been researched about, and they have a solid result, right? That's the most, authentic information that we can provide, right? So we know that one of the subjects when it comes to male and female sexuality is primarily it's focused on how long a sexual episode should last, right? So both male and female actually experience that, and for men, we know that the issue of erectile dysfunction, right, is something that is significant. And there are men that they believe they don't last for long. They are able to last much longer, right? So when we ask a man, how long do you think is the average of male, sexual encounter that makes them happy, we don't hear about a specific number, right? But what is important when we hear is, if they have actually an orgasm, right? And So that, the majority of the time, the focus is on male, erectile functioning, whether it's done, how it is done, right? There are men that they talk about their sexuality, their how long they last. Some they say they last, a minute. Some women say that their partner lasts in the duration of, as they describe it, 1, 2, 3, done, right?
Okay.
I have heard that from so many women.
Yeah.
They say, yeah, all you have to say is just can say 1, 2, 3, finished, right? So, and then there are some that they complain, my God, he never finishes up, right? Okay.
Right.
So we hear variety of that. And majority of the studies that they are done, the focus is on, male sexual functioning, male erectile dysfunction or function, and how they can enhance that for better, for better satisfaction, right? We seldom see that about women, though. Right?
Yeah.
So you're smiling. What's that? What's that all about?
Well, no, we each sex has their own. The Yiddish word is chazarai,
Right.
and it means crap.
Right.
Right. So each sex has their own crap to deal with.
So who said how long a person lasts is crap?
Well, yeah, it's a synergy, right? It's about connecting with the other person, and not just thinking about your own pleasure.
Right.
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 So, and of course, in general, women do take longer to reach orgasm, but that doesn't have to be problematic. It depends on the relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and that's exactly, I found an article that, talks about that specific, aspect of human sexuality, female sexuality. This article is by Dr. Christy Overstreet, I hope I said that right, and talks about a research that's done actually about how long a female sex episode or a sexual encounter can last per research. Right? And she has some interesting numbers and some interesting approach about how these are measured and how these are calculated. Above all, she says, how long sex lasts for women is a complicated question, because it's mixing together lots of assumptions about what acts are involved in a sexual encounter, how important orgasms are, and how women orgasm actually works, right? So I myself, excuse my voice, I myself have agreement with this definition and also have my own disagreement with it.
Okay.
Right? So yes, it is complicated to put a measure of time on how long a sexual encounter for women should last, right? Or what is the average on that, because it depends on how each sexual encounter begins and what happens during that. My disagreement is that when we talk about sexual encounter and how long it lasts, if it is only reaching orgasm is the goal, right? So then that's different versus what is how do we describe a full sexual encounter between two partners? Right? What do you think on that?
I think that that's correct. I think there's a difference between goal-oriented sex and process or connection-oriented sex.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, goal-oriented sex, it can happen a lot quicker, but isn't necessarily better or more satisfying.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. There's another point here that, it also depends on how long the average woman lasts in bed. So then again, you and I have had this discussion before that sex doesn't start in bed.
Mm-hmm.
Sex actually, starts with foreplay.
Right.
And foreplay doesn't always start in bed.
Correct.
Right. We have, foreplays that starts like 3 days or 4 days prior to the actual intercourse.
Mm-hmm.
That's done, assuming in bed,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have, foreplays that starts 3 or 4 hours prior to that, right? And all of that is part of sex,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is part of the, that sexual encounter that we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
right? So unless, again, it depends on how we define sexual encounter. Is one of the key factor here to measure how long a woman can last, in a sexual encounter,
Mm-hmm.
right? So which one do we want to focus on? Do we want to focus on what happens inside the bed, or what happens, collectively in a sexual process?
What do you mean? Well, which one we want to focus on? We need to focus on both.
Both, exactly.
Right.
That was my thought, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she refers to a study that was done in 2020, right? And then they found that average time it takes a woman to reach orgasm during sex with men is 13.41 minutes.
And how many milliseconds?
That I don't have the milliseconds, right?
Okay.
So that means, and they are referring to sexual activities that's described just as penis in vagina intercourse.
Oh, so you mean they're talking only about vaginal penetration?
Just vaginal penetration.
And,
I use the term that's it's in the article.
And the average woman is 13.41.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Okay.
So is that just when the vaginal intercourse starts that lasts 13.41 seconds? I assume that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Right, and then I also assume that when they give that 13.41, starting with vaginal penetration, so it the time ends when one party or both of them reach orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that's the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so this is referring to goal-oriented sexual activity, and so something that it's fine. I mean, people can do goal-oriented sex activity. Let's just reach orgasm and get it over with. But then again, to me, that's so mechanical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, so you have to be a good mechanic.
Yeah. Okay, so
Okay.
you're on your funny mood today. Okay, so let's talk about more more so right after our commercial break, because our technical director just told us we are approaching our commercial time. See you in a few short seconds.
See you soon. Bye-bye. Recovery seminar every Friday from 9 to 10 a.m. See you there.
I heard it this morning. Welcome back from our commercial break. This is Heart-to-Heart program at KMET 1490 AM ABC News Radio. We're laughing because we say lots of funny things during our commercial break. So our phone number, please call us at 951-922-3532. Dr. Mitra and Dr. Robert here. And we're talking today about how long does the average woman want sex to last? Yes, this time about women lasting their sexual experiences, and is not for the first time about men ED, erectile dysfunction, right?
No, not today.
Not today. I mean, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of research articles and books and information, formal and informal, available everywhere these days about how men can enhance their erectile, issues like how they can last longer and how to get a better sexual experiences and all of that. For women, majority of research and majority of articles and information focuses on their dysfunction, right? It is as though women's sexuality is nothing but dysfunction. Seldom we see a research article that focuses on enhancement, right? As though women are not supposed to have enhanced sexual experiences, right? So when I saw this article and I said, wow, this is great. Let's talk about this.
It is a great article, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about this and see, what's going on with women and how they can enhance their sexual experiences and what is, in this case, what is the average time that they want to last during each sexual, experience, and how that can be, measured and how that can be enhanced at the same time, right? So based on this article that says average, orgasm time is 13.41 minutes, well, we are living at least 17% of women who never have an orgasm. So that's a considerable, chunk of women that we don't know about their sexual experiences.
Yeah, and that's a sad commentary because orgasm is so powerful and so pleasurable and so healthy.
Yes, so exactly. I really appreciate Dr. Christie for coming up with this article online, and because these numbers were not known before, and these are about 2020 research study, so that's great. In part of this article, it says realistically there is no set duration for how long sex should last to become satisfying to women, right? And in another survey that was done, the average woman wants sex intercourse to last 25 minutes and 51 seconds. I love these seconds, the extra seconds, and I like to really get my hand on that data to see how that was calculated. What kind of a system they used to come up with this, 51 second.
And 25 minutes and 51 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, and if the man ejaculates at 25 minutes and 50 seconds, he has one angry woman on his hands.
He has one angry woman, exactly, right? So the most of, where in fact we know that while women, they wanted to last 25 minutes and 51 seconds, most of their encounters actually last between 16 to 17 minutes. And that's exactly what happened because guys had early ejaculation.
Too early for the woman.
Too early for the woman.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then see what happens right after that. There is a lot of psychological factors happens after that, which we're going to get to that, right? So on average, when again we combine all of this according to the studies that are published by Journal of Sexual Medicine. The ideal duration for vaginal intercourse is between 7 and 13 minutes, right? So this is between 1 and 2 minutes. They say between 1 and 2 minutes is too short. Women, that's what women say, right? 3 to 7 minutes is adequate, and 10 to 30 minutes is too long. So anything between 3 and 13 minutes is considered typical.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So I don't know. So if they want,
sounds like Goldilocks.
So exactly,
right?
Yes. I mean, how can you really measure something like that? I mean, I'm in the research myself, and I do research on primarily sexual healthcare and of course doing sex therapy. But coming up with these fixed numbers, right? It's kind of questionable for me that how did they measure this? Is this measured based on when their male partner is, reaching orgasm? So that's the end of it, right? And because we know that there are studies that they suggest that, while men, when they have their orgasm, it takes them a while to continue again. And for some, that will be it for that episode.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that women actually, they are able to have many sexual encounters with a short pause in between.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but if a male partner is done and then they're not ready to go back to repeat the cycle, so that means that woman also is done at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I think, and I hope I'm right, I don't know if I'm correct accurately, but I think, again, these measurements is calculated based on when men are having orgasm, so that will be the duration for women too. I mean,
okay.
Is that?
I mean, it sounds right.
It sounds right.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts about it?
Well, I agree with you. It's hard to measure.
Right.
And are they measuring it from the moment that the man inserts himself into the woman's vagina?
Right.
And doesn't say anything in the article about foreplay.
Right.
So foreplay has a lot to do with getting both sexes, the woman especially, ready
right.
for penetration. And so this leaves out that. Right. It doesn't say whether there's any foreplay or how long the foreplay was, or whether the foreplay was directly stimulating the clitoris or anything like that. Right. So there's a lot that's questionable.
Right. I think that the research is only focused on orgasm, the time of orgasm, and also the time of penetration.
Mm-hmm.
Because they here they see PNV vaginal experience, which stands for
right. Right. But if but if there's been foreplay for a minute mm-hmm. before, or 5 minutes before, or 10 minutes before, right. that isn't being put in the article.
No, and that's why I say the focus to me is so mechanical.
Mm-hmm.
They're just looking at the action of sex.
Right.
They're not looking at the experience of sex.
Right.
Right. That's different.
Right.
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 And then
they're also not commenting at all about the nature of the relationship,
right.
which we know is important in terms of excitement.
Exactly.
Right. If the person is really into the other person, if the person isn't so into the other person, I think that's a big factor that hasn't been addressed here.
Right. There is no indication of the criteria for participation.
Mm-hmm.
There is no indication about, and I assume this is all heterosexual experiences. And there is no explanation about whether there was foreplay or afterplay involved. So that's why I'm saying, it's only the function and nothing else is considered here, which is
misleading, I think.
Misleading, so dry, so mm-hmm. not accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And here it says that surveys and studies are limited, but thankfully, good. I'm glad they said that as far as how useful they are for understanding the full scope of sexual experiences. Right.
Yeah.
And then that's also because, so we have 17% of women who do not reach orgasm at all, or that's believed that way, that they cannot reach orgasm. I disagree with women who believe that they can reach orgasm. I think that experience is because they don't know how to get themselves to orgasm with their partners, or they are not, they haven't explored their body themselves to see, how they can reach orgasm, or they have limited information about their body function.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because everybody can reach orgasm.
Well, we're all born orgasmic.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right. So then they are here. Again, another factor that I disagree is says that most women cannot reach orgasm from penetration intercourse alone. Okay, again, so then there are factors missing here, mm-hmm. right? And those factors are, if there is a foreplay, afterplay, if they are, that compassionate approach, if they are the loving approach, if many things that is not indicated here are involved, that pleasure is going to be experienced, and that orgasm will happen. But what happens if these measures are correct? Let's say there is no problem with what they have presented. If a woman is not able to reach orgasm by the time that, you know, her male partner is reaching orgasm, and the sex stops right there, right? Women usually walk away with nothing but shame and guilt and feeling bad about themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? It is as though their job was to get the man to orgasm, and then whatever happens to them happens to them.
Yeah, they're not their needs aren't being considered.
Yes. So then, how is that a sexual encounter? If their needs is not being met, how do we call that a sexual encounter?
Well, of course, you're looking at definitions, right?
Right.
So you can say anything where it involves people trying to stimulate each other, and touching and kissing is a sexual encounter. So you could say it's a sexual encounter. That the nature of the sexual encounter is a thing that's questionable.
Exactly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many people assume that when a person, like a male partner, has orgasm, then the entire sexual experience is over.
Yes, and unfortunately, that's been true a lot.
But that is untrue.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, while society believes that is true, you know, the actuality of it is so untrue. It doesn't have to be over.
Well, no, that's different. That it doesn't have to be. But
Right.
I'm saying for a lot of people, it is.
Right.
For a lot of people, after the man ejaculates, it's over.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then that's a kind of predetermined pattern of how to have sex.
Correct.
Which doesn't involve female sexual satisfaction.
Correct. It does not.
Yeah.
And of course, that's what we're doing here, right? We're trying to help people understand the mutuality of it,
right.
and how important it is for both people to feel valued and to feel appreciated and to have their needs met.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
See, look, while this study, you know, that's out, was published in 2020. Here there is another study in 2012 that found that couples who include sexual activities other than vaginal penetration sex, which includes cuddling, kissing, stroking, or having oral sex, find that sexual experiences last longer.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that the new article, 8 years later, still talks about, you know, the idea that existed for centuries.
Right, which is very limiting. That sex is only about male-female intercourse.
Right. But we are supposed to be ahead of 50 years ago, a little bit, right?
Well,
I mean, while one article in 2012 is encouraging, you know, foreplay and afterplay, because that's what basically is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 8 years later, we have this research that only talks about vaginal penetration and orgasm as, you know, sexual encounter.
Mm-hmm.
So where is the progress?
Well, that's a question that you've asked and answered, I think.
I did.
Yes. Where's the progress?
Where's the progress?
There's no progress. If that's the way that, of course, this particular study is not indicative of all the studies.
Right.
But this particular study is still focused on that particular facet, which you're right. It's sort of a setback.
It is. I mean, Master and Johnson's, you know, they opened the door to talk about both sexes' sexuality, right? But then again, and that was what, in 1950?
Mm-hmm.
2020, and we are still looking at when the orgasm is happened, and that's it. And who got it first? Good for them.
The race to the quickest orgasm.
Really, I mean, and you know, that's what most couples report.
Mm.
It is that, you know, who gets the orgasm and who can reach orgasm faster. And we know that women usually get to orgasm, you know, later, or if there is, they're not as fast as men reaching orgasm,
mm-hmm.
right? Which that by itself, you know, is really interesting to discuss, because if men reach orgasm and they don't have ED before women do, So that means men usually, and I'm not saying everybody because I know you pick on me if I say that, it's usually they don't think about their partner's sexual satisfaction, and sex becomes about them, so they orgasm when they orgasm.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that isn't true today as much as it has been.
It has been.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Well, according to this article, it brings to me all the negativities that I'm trying to teach women, not to experience. But it tells me, at the end of 2020, we are still back in that prior corner of 1950. So I don't know how much progress we have made, and I think we got the signal that we are in commercial breaks. So let's take a break. I'm going to drink some cold water to cool myself down. And we talk more about this topic after our break.
Talk to you soon.
Every Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. Please join us. Thank you. Welcome back from our commercial break. This is Heart-to-Heart program at KMET 1490 AM, ABC News Radio. Dr. Mitra and Dr. Robert here. Our phone number 951-922-3532. Please call us or email us your questions. And today we have been talking about, how long a woman's sexual encounter should last. And per research, we find out that there are a variety of statistical numbers. And then one thing that is not really considered is, basically why the focus is on orgasm, and where in fact we know that, orgasm aren't a good way to measure sexual happiness, right? So that's and that's what I actually agree with, because for some men, maybe that's accurate. But then again, like we said it before the commercial break, we need to talk to those men to see what makes it good for them, and how do they come to that conclusion that when they have, orgasm, sex is over, right? And then, one of the prime complaints that I hear is in couple therapy, that couples come here and the man complains, my wife is always late reaching orgasm.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually say that. And then the women are so confused because they don't know really. First of all, they feel so shameful and guilty that they can't reach orgasm, and therefore their partner is not satisfied with their sexual, experiences, even when they have, orgasm. And men feel pressure to continue with sexual process until their female partner reaches orgasm, which is most of the time is not satisfactory, because some men cannot go back, to have their full erection. And therefore it causes so much problem between the two of them. It's tension building process, and ultimately they both give up. Right? But what they're not considering, both of them, that women don't understand, or they're not educated, or they don't have enough information about their body functioning and process of getting to the full arousal to get to orgasm. And men also don't know that how to kind of bring their female partner into the arousal process and the excitement, so that they can experience pleasure. So in other words, they don't know how to coordinate with each other. If they each are focusing on their orgasm, we're always going to have a problem.
If they're each focusing
on their orgasm as the goal of the sex.
You mean if they make sex a goal-oriented activity?
A goal-oriented activity. Yeah. So the reality is, how long it takes a woman to orgasm, according to this article, is not, a formula you tuck into your wallet and carry around with you. I like that.
Okay.
men, male partners here, they ask me, well, what am I going to do with her? She's always late. She doesn't know what to do. And some of them blame their female partner, if they start, participating in oral sex or things like that, that will be better. But what do you do with a woman who's actually, feeling shameful and guilty about her not being able to reach orgasm? And I have had clients that they were among that 17% that they never had orgasm and they didn't know what the heck their husband is talking about. Mm. But they knew there was something missing. Mm-hmm. They knew that they didn't know what the husband is talking about. They knew themselves that they're missing a part of excitement, but because they never had it, they didn't know what to look for. Mm-hmm. And that's such a sad situation, because if that experience, that education is not provided to women, I can only imagine how much guilt and shame and pain they are carrying with themselves when it comes to their sexual relationship, which actually needs to be the most beautiful part of relationship.
Yes, I agree, absolutely. Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with the socialization, because we've talked a lot about culture and society's impact on our sexuality, and the way that it's looked at, certainly in the United States, is that sex is both exciting and dirty. Mm-hmm. That's the way it's looked at.
But that's the view globally and plus minus.
Well, not globally. Yeah. We just read about that little bit, that island, right? That where it was different.
Well, yeah. I mean, on average,
but most, but there are. I mean, like for example, Sweden is not that way.
Right.
There are places that aren't. But when you make sex both exciting and dirty, it does carry secretive and shameful consequences, I think, for both sexes, but especially for women, because women have been used over the eons as needs satisfied for men. That the woman's there to satisfy the man. And of course, today in 2020, intellectually we understand that isn't correct, but psychologically and emotionally and practically, unfortunately, it does exist for many, many couples.
Right, right. And when we provide information, there are women that they want to come forward, they want to use the information, and they want to put it in practice. And then I see it among some cultures that when a woman does that and finds the new information and wants to put it in practice, they are facing, a good level of criticism that brings to them nothing but shame, right, as to why they want to experience that, how did they learn it, and so it brings a different level of conflict between couples, right? So it's not really easy for women, once they have some new information and way of practice, to put that actually put that in practice. And that also is part of culture. That is also part of, their upbringing and how men and women are looking at sexuality within certain cultures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So it's not, an easy way so far to measure, how a woman can be satisfied in her sexual encounter and how long her orgasm lasts on average. That's a measure of her satisfaction. A woman can also reach an orgasm, but really not feel the full satisfaction in her sexual experience.
Correct. Yeah. So what do you think, you come from both cultures. You come
Right.
from a closed culture and a more open culture.
Right.
What do you think that the major difference is in women's experience coming from both cultures?
I guess the main difference is the level of awareness of each woman,
Mm-hmm.
and then the level of assertiveness, sexual assertiveness of each woman, that allows her to, first of all, to select a partner that is open to learning about her experience,
Mm-hmm.
open to understand her sexuality, and not basically put her in a competitive mood of who's having orgasm first. Or actually, having an orgasm is her responsibility, right? Sexual encounter takes two for both to experience, full pleasure, and if both male and female don't understand, number one, each other's bodies and what excites them, and then don't talk about those to each other, right? Sexual experiences, it's not going to bring full satisfaction with it. So one of the way that women in the West are actually more advanced is because they have learned about self-sex and also how to understand their body and how to bring themselves to pleasure, and then they take that experience into their relationship, right? So, and the more they having self-sex, the more they are able to verbalize what works for them, what doesn't work for them, right? And that's because, in the West, it's an open society about this, relatively speaking. And with the help of internet and ordering, for example, sex toys online, women have more opportunity to, number one, experience, different form of orgasm, and then, understanding their, what works for them, their sexuality, feel more comfortable with themselves, right? And once they are more comfortable with themselves, they introduce that in the relationship. Right. The same way as men say, what they want. A woman, in the West has an easier time, and I'm not saying has a full easy time, no, it has an easier time to be expressive about what they want. And also, there is a issue of, body image, right, which in the West is easier to take care of that, right? But women of other culture, and, we have talked about this, that no matter where they go, their culture follows them, right? So even if they are living, for example, in Los Angeles, right? And we know that Los Angeles is definitely a diverse community, right? So still in this community, some of them have a hard time to refer to themselves as a sexual being and to identify what works for them. And it's really a challenging process to have self-sex, to understand what works for them. And the most challenge, even let's say all of this go forward, fine, still is the hardest challenge is to introduce to their partner what works for them in a sexual, encounter and overall about their sexuality. So the cultural factor definitely is a major factor to consider, and I don't see a reference to that in this article. So my assumption is that in this article, they're only looking at, a group of Western women, and that's their experience. So as we see, even within Western culture, we have so much limited information about really what works for a woman in terms of her sexual satisfaction. And then, but what we know for sure is that, orgasm is not the end of it. Orgasm, right. Having an orgasm in an aspect of it, but not all of it and not the end of it, right? And then a sexual relationship doesn't abruptly end because male partner reached orgasm.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course there is a difference with men and women in terms of orgasm.
Right.
Because when men orgasm, They can orgasm without ejaculating, but usually it goes together.
Right.
And then once the man ejaculates, he's also stimulating different hormones in his brain, which make him relaxed and even sleepy.
Right.
So and women don't have that. So
well, actually, that's not true. There is a certain period of time that the woman needs to pause herself to relax her body before she can go to the next one. However, women are more able to do that and have multiple orgasm, within a few minutes apart from each other than men have.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. And again, I'm saying that's because the ejaculatory process is different.
Yes, it's
different. Yeah. And but that doesn't mean that it's definitive, that because a man ejaculates that he then has to turn over and go to sleep.
Which majority of the time does happen.
Majority of the time it does happen. Yeah. And the woman usually is wanting more connection.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So basically, the article also says that how long a woman takes to reach orgasm, it relates to her capacity to relax and receive, and her partner's capacity to bring attention and loving contact. So that's exactly what you and I just talked about.
Yes.
Right. So the more we show compassion, the more we are, understanding each other, the more we understand ourselves as a sexual being, determines how long a female orgasm or female sexual encounter should last.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay. We reached the end of our program. I'd like to invite you to please join us tomorrow for another episode of Trauma, Addictions, and Codependency with Dr. Robert Jaffe at 9 a.m. and next Thursday with me and Dr. Jaffe for another episode of Human Sexuality. Thank you for listening to us, and until then, all you need is love.
Love, love, love.
Have a wonderful evening.
And a great weekend.